the Barry Morphew court documents.
that we promised our audience.
Let's give people a minute to get in here.
Yeah, and then we'll be talking about the documents. We'll read them and we'll talk about how they were presented in court and how Barry reacted to them and some of our own thoughts also, and we'll of course be wanting to know what the people, our audience, what they think about all this as well. And is this my first live with you, Jack?
It's the first time I've been live with you. It is.
You disappeared your head.
I know. It's because you're the center of attention around here on this channel. Okay. I know Barry, he acted kind of calm when he was in the court. I mean, I wouldn't be able to be that calm if I was locked up for how many months? He's been in there since.
He has been in there since. Let me grab.
I stumped you.
Yeah, you did stump me. Let's see. It says that he has been in the Alamosa County Jail since June 30th at 12:40 p.m.
Yeah.
How about that? Because I got to talk to Alamosa County Jail again today, and I've got a printout also of Barry's time in there. And
I would be losing my mind if I was in jail that long.
I like how they just call him Morphew.
Yeah, they say
that was funny.
Morphew's here. They said.
Yeah, we like to check on him. So,
Barry Morphew.
Do we have anybody in here yet?
We have 3 people.
We have 3. All right.
Hello. We had 5. 2 people left.
They were like, "What is this?" Anyhow, we are discussing Barry Lee Morphew, who is currently incarcerated in the Alamosa County Jail in Colorado. He has been arrested for the second time for the murder of his wife, Suzanne Morphew. And Barry's first arrest and trial was kind of a circus, and luckily it was let go and without prejudice, so that this was able to happen once Suzanne's remains were found and a grand jury was seated and able to go over all the evidence and determine that, arrest needed to happen. And Barry was picked up in Arizona, where he had been staying in a trailer park. And
they knew right where to find Barry Morphew.
Well, of course they did. I think we all knew right where to find Barry, because, I'm sure law enforcement is even more snoopy than we are, and we knew right where he was.
Yeah, we did.
So, anyway, it didn't take long for him to be picked up after the arrest warrant was issued, and he had been using an assumed name there in Arizona for both work and personal purposes, and it was Lee Moore. And in court, I remember when they talked about him having aliases, the defense was trying to say, oh, well, yeah, he uses Lee, but Lee's his middle name. And then the prosecution brought up Moore and saying that doesn't have anything to do with his name, and that he was using Lee Moore.
He was.
And so, here we go. And we'll go ahead and start.
Alrighty, well, welcome to live chat, everyone. I see there's a couple people in here. Go ahead and jump in the comment section anytime. Smash that like button. Let's go.
Yeah, please hit the like button. We're trying to grow this channel. A lot of people know that I had and have an ongoing medical struggle, and so this is now our only form of making money. We're working for it, guys. We're trying. Anyhow, motion to reduce bond. This was issued by Jane Fisher Bryallison, that woman that's been defending Barry for a long time, and David Beller, who is the other attorney who jumped on during this arrest.
David was the only one that spoke.
Yeah, David was the only one that spoke in the courtroom. Jane whispered to Barry several times, and whispered, of course, to David, so that David would go talk and say whatever it was that she wanted said. Anyhow, this was a motion to reduce his bond because at the time his bond was $3 million, but it was cash only. And the defense wanted it to go down to 500,000 because that was manageable, and because Barry had no problem cashing out 500,000 last time he was arrested. So it says on May 5th, 2021, prosecutors arrested Mr. Morphew in Fremont County, case 22CR47. Mr. Morphew remained in custody until September 17th, 2021, at which time the court set Mr. Morphew's bond at $500,000. Upon his release, Mr. Morphew appeared at every court appearance and remained out of custody the entire time his case was pending. He never missed a single court hearing and kept all appointments and check-ins as ordered by the court. There was never any problem or any claim that he failed to abide by every condition imposed. Ultimately, the case was dismissed against him. That's interesting because I seem to recall that he did get into a little bit of trouble, but I guess it didn't land him in jail. And there was even talk that he had been drinking someplace and he was passed out in the bed of his pickup truck. So interesting that he's such a good boy that he deserves it to be lowered.
He was drinking when? That was the first time.
The first time, yeah. We're talking about the first time because, they're trying to say, oh, he was a good boy the whole time.
Well, at least he wasn't driving around drunk.
Yeah. And they're saying that he had no problems following the rules and that there were no problems in this. But I recall there being a couple of different little court dates because, his GPS ankle monitor wasn't working properly and various things like that. So anyhow, item 2, Mr. Morphew's circumstances have not significantly changed since his release. Not significantly changed?
That's what defense was saying.
Yeah, the defense was saying that it had not significantly changed. And meanwhile, the prosecution during this bond hearing argued that this case is night and day different from the other, that this one has way more evidence. They said that the original case was mostly circumstantial, and this time they have lots of physical evidence, including Suzanne's remains. Anyhow, Mr. Morphew's circumstances have not significantly changed since his release. He remained represented, and his attorney stayed in regular contact with the district attorney's office. Mr. Morphew has family and close friends in redacted. One of his redacted in redacted, if authorized. In redacted, while establishing a permanent residence where he could live until resolution of this case. Then they go to statutory considerations, which I won't read, and those are items 3 and 4, where it's just discussing statutes regarding bond. And then number 5 is statutory considerations set forth include, and it says the employment status and history of Mr. Morphew. And they were saying, he works for himself. So, that speaks for itself. He works for himself. But they also mentioned that he was working still while in jail, that he had employees and things like that.
They said he was working from jail.
Yeah, he was working from jail. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot there because they were saying that it did not financially impact his family whatsoever, that he was in jail because he was able to run his business from jail.
How does one do that?
They said that all his phone calls have been monitored, so they heard him making, they have recordings of him making phone calls, making business decisions, even real estate deals and things like that on the phone from jail.
And Barry Morphew is just a landscaper. He owns a Bobcat, obviously a contractor's license as well. Yeah,
and also, I guess he owns a couple of trailers in Arizona that he rents out. He's a slumlord or something. Anyway, The nature and extent of his family relationships, which are that he's got the 2 daughters that are in his corner. He claims his mother is too, but she didn't go to court. He's given homes to his daughters and his mom, and took his name off of it and stuff. So anyway, they're saying got good relationship with his family. But none of his family are in the county where this case is being tried. And Barry's home has been in Arizona. One of the daughters is in Arizona, and his mother is in Indiana. So these close family ties are close family ties out of the state of Colorado.
He doesn't have a home here, does he?
No, he does not have a home here. And he does not have family here. See his past and present residences. Why do we care where he lived in the past? He doesn't currently live there. And his present residence is in Arizona. So
at a trailer park.
At a trailer park. Yes. Mr. Morphew's character and reputation are another reason why his bond should be reduced. What do you guys think of Mr. Morphew's character and reputation?
Well, the only thing he has going for him is that he always showed up.
Yeah.
And now they have all Suzanne's remains and a whole bunch more evidence, and I really don't see how it hasn't changed.
Identity of persons who agree to assist him in attending court at the proper time. And, but they don't list anybody that's going to help him. The likely sentence, considering the nature and the offense presently charged. Mr. Morphew's prior criminal record, if any, and any prior failures to appear for court. And apparently he was a good boy going to court all the time. They don't mention, the different things that he went to court for, which I guess goes to his character and reputation too, filling out a ballot for his deceased wife and voting.
How much time did he get for that? 1 year? Or?
He was on probation for a year.
Oh, he got a slap.
Any facts indicating the possibility of violations of the law if he is released without certain conditions of release. Any facts indicating that he is likely to intimidate or harass possible witnesses. And any other facts tending to indicate that Mr. Morphew has strong ties to the community and is not likely to flee the jurisdiction. And then 6, all of these factors mitigate in favor of reducing his current $3 million cash-only bond to a reasonable bond that Mr. Morphew can post. So he can't post $3 million cash.
No.
Employment. Mr. Morphew has always been gainfully employed as an expert landscaper. Redacted by his arrest on this case. In Colorado, he has numerous business contacts that will provide work for him. Doesn't say who they are, though.
No. No.
Family. Redacted. He also has an aging mother. Redacted. His family remains extremely close and supportive of Mr. Morphew. Well, we know that redacted is probably his daughters, right? Anyhow. Residences. As stated above, Mr. Morphew has his own residence, redacted. Otherwise, he will reside with, redacted, or at another location if ordered by this court. Mr. Morphew has many close contacts in redacted, many of whom have offered him a place to stay should this court reduce his bond to a reasonable amount. And it's like, what?
Who's going to let them stay?
I don't know who's going to let him stay. He doesn't state who's going to let him stay. He also doesn't say in the paper. Well, in the paper, it's redacted where, but they were saying in court that Barry had lots of contacts in, guess what? Saywatch County.
Candidly.
Where Suzanne's remains were found. It said that he's got lots of contacts there and that the jurisdiction ought to be there, because if the jurisdiction was there, he'd have no problem staying in the jurisdiction. So how about that?
Well, he's got nowhere to stay within the county or neighboring counties.
Yeah, but he does have some place to stay that's not too far from where Suzanne's remains were found. Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
That was a very interesting tidbit. Character and reputation. Prior to the government's attempts to portray him as a criminal, Mr. Morphew's reputation was excellent. He is an honest person who is genuinely eager to clear his name so that his former fine reputation can be restored. Fine reputation.
Fine.
It's funny because we watched a show a while back where where there's this guy that kept talking about fine jobs, and he actually
it was an Australian show. I cannot remember the name of that. The man's also in Severance.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
Plays an evil man every time.
Yeah. Anyhow, persons who will assist him in appearing. Mr. Morphew's legal team, friends, and daughters will provide all needed assistance in ensuring his appearance for all court hearings. Likely sentence. Mr. Morphew is innocent and there will be no sentence imposed. If hypothetically he were convicted, the sentence would depend upon the degree of offense and could range anywhere from probation to mandatory life imprisonment without parole. It must be noted that these were the same sentences he faced previously, when he got the $500,000 bail. Criminal record. Mr. Morphew's only criminal conviction is his guilty plea to a Class 5 felony, forgery of a government document. That's the voter fraud there. He satisfactorily completed a 1-year term of probation. It should be noted that he was redacted while he was on probation. He always appeared as required, and there was never any issue with his compliance. Possible violations of the law if released, and likelihood of intimidating or harassing possible witnesses. Mr. Morphew has not committed any violation of the law or intimidated or harassed any witnesses throughout, from the time of his first arrest to the present. There is no reason to believe he would do so if released now. And any strong ties to the community, and whether he is not likely to flee. Mr. Morphew has strong ties to redacted. He is not likely to flee based on his history, motivation to clear his name, and strong ties to his daughters. And constitutional considerations, and it goes into a bunch of different court cases, citations. So I won't read those. And
well, the reason it's $3 million is because there are other inmates in the same jail, and their bail is all set around $3 million as well. So
yeah,
that's why they said
it's not unusual.
Yeah.
And anyways, the present bail is excessive, far greater than that necessary to secure Mr. Morphew's appearance at proceedings before this court. And then it's signed by Fisher and Breen. I don't know.
Well,
I probably shows it backwards or something. So anyway, that is what they had to say. And now
this is really hard to read chat.
Yeah, and
really,
I can't.
It's really small. I prefer being on the other phone.
He's honest. Just ask him, lol. Yes, and it's funny too because it's very specific about him not harassing anybody from the time of his arrest before and his arrest now, when we know that many people came forward to talk about him harassing them in the past. So, and maybe the specific witnesses he didn't harass, maybe, Anyhow, this is the people's response to defendant's motion to reduce bond, and this is also what the DA's office argued in court. Relevant facts. The 12th Judicial District Grand Jury returned an indictment charging the defendant with murder in the first degree on June 18, 2025, for killing his wife, Suzanne Morphew. The defendant was charged with the same crime in 2021 prior to the discovery of Ms. Morphew's remains in 2023. That case was dismissed without prejudice in a different judicial district. See, because on the other one it said that it was dismissed, but they didn't mention without prejudice. Anyway, as the indictment makes clear, the evidence against the defendant is more robust than the evidence presented in the 2021 case. Significantly, Ms. Morphew's remains were found after the 2021 case was dismissed. The people will present evidence that the remains of Ms. Morphew contained a chemical compound that the defendant had practically exclusive access to at the time of Ms. Morphew's disappearance. During the course of their investigation, police acquired information about the travel patterns and financial patterns that raised concerns about the defendant's ability to absent himself from the jurisdiction to avoid prosecution. For example, through the use of license plate reader technology, law enforcement learned that the defendant has traveled in 2 different vehicles with the same license plate, which is Indiana F397FR, through several states from 2023 to 2025. He traveled to Indiana, Missouri, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Florida, and Wyoming. The defendant has the means to travel internationally. Law enforcement learned that the defendant traveled to Mexico after the 2021 case was dismissed. Law enforcement further learned that the defendant has significant means to finance an absconding plan. He purchased a condo out of state for his daughter and transferred the deed to his daughter's name. While jailed, he has communicated about the value of the stock he sold and the substantial rental income he is collecting on his properties in Arizona. Law enforcement has obtained communications about the defendant transferring money between accounts with his daughter and providing for his daughter's living expenses. The defendant, and I'm guessing that's probably Mallory. The defendant has used and continues to use an alias. He refers to himself as Lee while he has been in custody and appears to continue to conduct business in Arizona using this alias. And then it's got the legal arguments, which, let me get to... I'll just go ahead and read their legal argument because some of it is actually mentioning Barry. So, CRS 164103 identifies relevant factors the court may consider in determining the method and conditions of a defendant's release on bond. After consideration of all of the statutory factors in CRS 164103, a trial court's determination of bond is reviewed only for abuse of discretion. People v. Hoover, 119 P3D 564, Colorado Appeals 2005, the defendant correctly listed the statutory factors in his motion. The defendant argues that the $500,000 bond he posted in the 2021 case was sufficient to ensure his appearance in court. This case, however, is a very different case. If convicted at trial on arguably much stronger evidence, the charge against the defendant requires a mandatory life sentence. The defendant's circumstances are different than they were in 2021. People v. Blegg, 340 P3D 1137 and 1141, Colorado 2015, considering change of circumstances related to statutory factors relevant in determination of bond amount and conditions. There is evidence that the defendant has substantial means increasing the defendant's flight risk. People v. Fallis, the 353 P3D 934, 935 through 936, Colorado Appeals 2015, considering flight risk as a factor in setting of bond amount and conditions. Moreover, the defendant has demonstrated a willingness to take actions that conceal his identity, like using an alias and interchanging vehicles with the same license plate, increasing the defendant's flight risk. The bond set by the court is not unreasonable in comparison with other murder cases in the 12th Judicial District. A defendant with significantly less ability to abscond, Henry Corral, was recently convicted of murder in the first degree, Alamosa 24 CR 115. The court set Mr. Corral's pretrial bond at $5 million cash only. Similarly, Larry Chavez, a defendant accused of murder in the first degree, must post $5 million cash or surety to be released on bail, Alamosa 24 CR 142. Many of the facts the defendant relies upon in his motion have already been considered by the court in setting the original bond. In setting bond in this case, the court acknowledged the defendant's compliance with bond conditions in the 2021 case. The court also considered the defendant's limited criminal history. Finally, the court evaluated its bond decision in light of the amount and conditions of the defendant's previous bond in 2021, noting that the alleged facts of the present case are distinct. There are no new material facts raised in the defendant's motion that warrant a reduction in bond. And so, wherefore, based on the above, the people respectfully request that this honorable court, deny the defendant's motion to reduce bond. And signed Ann Kelly. And it was really funny, guys, when the prosecution was stating these facts in court. Barry was sitting there and he like whispered to Jane, and his eyebrow went up, and you know that was that's his tell, you know, is this one eyebrow going boing, sky high and stuff, and he's like anyhow, of course the judge in this case was very reasonable and followed the letter of the law and things, and decided that they were not going to reduce the bond at all, but they would concede to the defense by agreeing to allow him to have a surety bond, which means he could use a bail bondsman instead of cash. So there's that. But my understanding of the situation is that in order to secure such a thing from a bail bondsman, he's got to have collateral posted. And I think he shot himself in the foot with that one, with his hiding his assets and moving his cash around. He's made himself be poorer so that, you know, people can't sue him or whatever. But by doing this, he has spread himself thin, putting money into these different relatives, and who knows who else might be close enough for him to be hiding money with them. But that means it's all scattered, and that in order for a bondsman to grant him this $3 million bond, he's going to have to get all these different people to go ahead and agree to go in there and say, yeah, here's my piece, you can use this. And you know, that's pretty crazy, because you know, it's going to take a while if he's even going to be able to do it. You know, he's going to have to get all these different people to agree to go in there, and like, if his properties that he gave to his daughters and to his mom, if those properties all add up to $3 million, I don't know.
Oh, no.
I don't know whether they do or not.
A bunch of properties. Yeah.
Because yeah,
they'd have to be quite grand.
Yeah, and I don't really think that they are all that grand.
I doubt it. So he has any money left from the Suzanne house.
Right. I think, you know, and that wasn't $3 million either.
No, but it was only $1 million. 1 million something.
Interesting. And you know, wondering where all he's hidden his money. And I bet he's thinking maybe hiding his money around like that wasn't such a good idea. Also, all this talk about him shuffling money around, shuffling cash around, and such makes me wonder a bit about that alleged missing money that he tried to use as
Was it,
proof that
was it
Suzanne gone girled.
$9,000?
I
Or
don't
was it more?
remember. Do you
Or was
guys
it
remember how
70?
much it
How
was?
much money
Like
did he
70
say
or
disappeared out of his safe?
40, 70? I don't know. I've got a few different numbers in my head. I don't recall what it was, but supposedly a bunch of cash disappeared. Um, and he was, I guess, trying to say that Chaffee County took it or something, or that Suzanne took it and gone girled or something.
Which
But
is what we thought at the very first
but
week or so. We thought maybe.
I never actually thought that she did. I just really wished that she had, and I thought it would be hilarious if she did, especially if he got convicted and stuff,
Karen.
and then she'd be able to come back and be like, "Oh wow, I didn't know this was going on.
Yes.
Poor Barry had to go through court and all that. Oh, by the way, here's your divorce."
And
You
Karen, Karen says it was $70,000 that disappeared.
Oh, 70? Okay.
Yes, I couldn't remember that
And
number for
and
anything.
so
Yes.
yeah, he said 70,000 disappeared, and now we're finding out he does all kinds of um these cash transactions. And um in the court they were trying to explain that they couldn't even tell what some of the stuff was that he was doing in order to get these cash transactions that were moving around. And I recall from previous evidence and the first trial that, or the first hearing, or the first being charged, whatever you want to say, about the first go around with law enforcement and the judicial district, he and his oldest daughter, Mallory, were playing with funds together. And she is the one that co signed with him to get guardianship over for him to get guardianship over Suzanne when she had only been missing for like 6 weeks. And stuff like that, and being able to sell things on Suzanne's behalf. And she was that, and she was the beneficiary at first of the GoFundMe that they had. Mallory was going to be the beneficiary of that. And it just appears that she's right in there with him with the cash transactions, which makes me have a bit less amount of empathy, I guess, sympathy, empathy, whatever, with Mallory. I mean, I do realize that these girls were groomed by Barry since they were little, and that stand by daddy and all that kind of thing. But it almost seems like Mallory is, you know, real close to being an accomplice of some sort. And if nothing else, just through business transactions.
I think they sold Suzanne's car a little bit prematurely.
Way prematurely. She'd only been missing like 2 months when they sold Suzanne's car.
If they think,
and not even sell it in the area. They sold it to someone in Indiana, and got the car completely out of the jurisdiction, out of the area. And it's like, really, if
I wonder who bought that car.
I guess it was a friend of Barry's, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Apparently he does have some friends, but it was funny because the judge made a point of the fact that he didn't name any friends that would vouch for him. And the judge made a point of the fact that he had no contacts, no close people in the county, in Alamosa County, where he's supposed to stay, the jurisdiction. And they did change things to where if he does make bond, He does have to wear a GPS device, and basically he'll be on house arrest if he does make bond, because he's to get a residence, before he can get out, he has to have a post bond and have a residence where he will stay that is in Colorado, and he can't leave that except for to go to court, or if he has medical things. So he can't do it to go visit his daughters like he did when this case was in the 11th. Remember that ridiculous stuff where he got permission to drive over to Gunnison and stuff to see his daughters, and oh, the place where he chose to live, guess what? It doesn't have signal for that GPS monitor. And then they said, oh, okay, well, you can drive into town um and to show that you're still here. And this time he's not going to get
that was
that.
Chaffee County.
Yeah, that was Chaffee County.
They don't play by the rules over there.
Yeah, and this time around, he'll be on house arrest, and he's not going to be able to be running around or anything. He's not be able to leave the state or any of the other stuff that he was doing. He was even saying, oh, part of the time that he was on out on bond last time, he spent some time in Indiana and stuff like that, but he always came back. Well, and that's what he did when he was on probation too, is that he was on probation. He was supposed to be in but he always came back. He always came back for his meetings. And so, yeah.
Time. The judge was very strict.
Yeah, this judge was very strict and did point out all of these things and all of these reasons why he is a flight risk and the bond was not going to get lowered. But because of the few good things that they conceded about him, they said, okay, well, we'll let you have the surety bond instead of just a cash only, so that he could hypothetically post bond.
Maybe.
And I was actually afraid that he was going to be able to post it right away. So I had such a giggle every time that I checked it out and found out he was still on the jail roster. It's like, ha, 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 ha.
We tried to record that, but we failed.
Yeah, I was going to record the phone call to the jail so you guys could hear how, oh yeah, we have Morphew. Yep. So,
are you going to read the victim impact statement for an encore? Or did you not bring it?
I didn't bring it out. It's in the abode.
We can read it the next time.
Yeah.
If you guys would like to smash that like, if you'd like to hear the victim's impact statement written by Suzanne's brother.
Oh, it's powerful.
It'll make you cry. It's really sad.
Oh, yeah. It is really sad. And
we have it on the channel if you'd like to go over and check it out.
Yeah. So, do you have any way to check the chat and see if we have any questions or anything that we should answer?
They're really small. They're really small tonight, everybody. So I like it better when I was behind the scenes and I could read the chat. I can't see it this time.
I like having you up here.
And the reading glasses help me see it, but it's still very tiny, and I'd have to relay that to you. And no. Anyways, is that about it for tonight?
Yeah, I guess that's it for tonight.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
But, hit the like button. And also, if you like us going live together like this, we can do it more often. So, if you put like a number 1 in the comments, then we'll know, yes, do this again. And we'll keep doing that. Having
this is our first live with
live
me
visits.
Up here.
Yeah,
in front of the camera.
Yeah, this is our first time doing it together with him out here on camera with me, and he gives you something to look at when I'm reading and not looking at the screen, or at least maybe one of his eyes.
I like to hide.
He likes to hide. He is shy, and it took a bit for me to be able to get him to agree to come on here.
But. And Nana says they are going to have a hard time finding a bail bondsman that'll work with him.
Yeah, that's true.
And Suzanne and her father coming back to hunt her killer, maybe? I hope so.
To hunt her killer? Yes. That'd be so awesome if Jean and Suzanne were both haunting Barry right now. Can you imagine?
And Eddie Purdy to here. Who would have him live with them, a friend or not?
Yeah,
Who do you
really.
think it would be? I'm only gonna go up here a couple times. I know there's been a lot of comments in here, and if I don't get to you guys, sorry about that. But it's really small. We're doing it on the phone tonight instead of the big camera and the big computer monitor like we used to do.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we have had a change in circumstances.
Yes. Karen says, now he's all cash poor. I believe he is.
Yeah, he's cash poor.
And we came to the conclusion it's between $70,000 and $75,000 that went missing out of the garage.
Okay.
Was that in a safe or was it just laying in a box? I mean,
oh wow, I just remembered something else. The defense tried to argue that that it wasn't right of the prosecution to mention the fact that Barry was the one that had access to BAM, and they're like, well, other people in other places probably had access to BAM, and they're saying Barry got his BAM in 2017 when he had his deer farm in Indiana. And they said, and you didn't find any BAM in the house, and when you investigated, but
he probably just brought that BAM with him.
And yeah, and he had the he had the darts and all that other stuff in the safe, and he actually was recorded talking to the police. So this is why he tried to retroactively have his
previous statements redacted.
Yeah, but
they didn't agree to that.
No, they didn't agree to that. It's already on record and stuff, and
Barry should have just been quiet. Just forget how to talk, Barry. I might have helped you out a little bit. Just shut up, okay?
Yeah. But anyway, he is on record saying that what he was probably throwing away when he was questioned about throwing things away in Broomfield, and he was saying he probably threw away the BAM then.
Mr. Trash Panda.
Yeah. Trash Panda in reverse because he was putting stuff in. Anyway.
That's all we got.
Let's see.
Anything else?
Yeah, nothing else tonight, I guess. And
thank you for showing up.
Yep.
Ready? Click. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
We can let the comments run here for a minute if you guys want to comment in here amongst yourselves. All right. Good night.
Night, guys.
I don't know how to do it on the phone. I only know how to work it on the...
Maybe we hit that, maybe.
Maybe. Let's try this one. Good night.
Yes, we want to stop. Yes, okay.